Moving on, we're going to be listening to one of our speakers who is going to be taking us on authentic leadership. If you have access to the order of program, you realize that we are not just learning about access, but the word access has been taken as an acronym. So each speaker is coming to speak on every aspect of access. And the first speaker, the first topic, which is authentic leadership, will be going on. Already we've listened to cultivating strategic partnerships. And then now we are going to be listening to authentic leadership. And that will be taken by engineer Joseph Adeboye. But before we move on, we want to listen to his profile. And then we'll be streaming live. He'll be streaming live. Thank you very much.
Joe Adeboye. Joe Adeboye is a distinguished leader with over 30 years of experience in IT across the oil and gas industry, having worked in Nigeria, the Netherlands, and Russia. He currently serves as the Chief Executive Officer of TPS Solar Plus, a renewable energy company focused on sustainable innovation. Alongside this, he functions as Chief Technical Officer at ScanPoint Limited. His career includes over a decade at Shell, where he led enterprise IT and digital transformation efforts, delivering impactful solutions in ERP and application portfolios. Joe holds a bachelor's degree in electronics and computer engineering from the Federal University of Technology Owerri, Futo, and an MBA from Warwick Business School in the United Kingdom. He has held several key positions, including IDT Portfolio Manager at Shell Energy and IT Business Integration Lead at Sakhalin Energy. In addition to his corporate accomplishments, Joe is also a pastor with the Watchman Catholic Charismatic Renewal Movement, having served in Nigeria, the UK, the
No, I'm
Netherlands,
not
and
sure if you
Russia.
can hear me.
He is deeply committed to growing the body of
Expected to
Christ
start
and nurturing
yet because
kingdom
I'm no longer
leadership.
hearing audio
He is
from.
married to Dr. Bridget Adeboye, and they are blessed with children. His hobbies include traveling, walking, computing, and exploring developments in renewable energy. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Engineer Joe Adeboye.
Every business has stakeholders. So stakeholders include the owner of the business, it includes partners, investors, customers, even the society where the business is operating. They are all stakeholders. And the last one, people may not realize it. So I had an experience many years ago. I lived in a part of town that was developing. Now, before I moved to the house where I was renting at that time, somebody had come and established a poultry. Over time, other houses were built around the poultry. Now, the problem was that you know the way a poultry is, the chicken are always making their droppings, and then they pack them constantly and then put them in a heap. And it's okay when the weather is hot and dry, but the moment it rains, it emits a horrible stench that permeates the whole environment. I eventually came to a point where all the residents in the area ganged up together and they forced the poultryman to move his business from that place. Now, he didn't realize that even though we were not investors, we were not even customers, we just lived and were his neighbors, we were also stakeholders in that business. What happened in that business affected us. And he didn't manage that stakeholder relationship very well, and it eventually led to some repercussion for that business. I don't know whether eventually that business closed, but he was forced to move from that environment. So there are, just to illustrate that there are other stakeholders beyond what people always obviously think about, which is customers and investors. It leads to improved performance, higher levels of employee engagement. When people are engaged in their work, they are able to do over and above what is required of them. They see themselves as being part owners of the business, even if they don't have any shareholding. They put their heart and their mind to it. Now, authentic leadership inspires and increases employee engagement. It also improves job satisfaction. It creates stronger relationships, strong and positive relationships that are based on mutual respect and understanding. And those sort of environments where there's mutual respect and understanding are better environments to work in than one where there is no respect, there is hostility, and people will not want to work. So it links to the next point, which is a positive work environment, which is more inclusive, more supportive, which is psychologically safe, where people can speak their mind. I told you how that in the companies we did evaluation of the leaders every year. I mean, I don't know, maybe probably it's coming also into Nigerian universities, but certainly I know that for universities abroad, you take a course or a module, and at the end of the course, you may do a paper, you may write an exam, depending on the nature of the course. You may do a group project and you'll be assessed, and then you get a grade. But in every one of these courses, where a lecturer or a group of lecturers who teach you are going to assess you, you as a student also assess your lecturers. They will give you course evaluation form. And then you will say how well the lecturer communicated. You will say whether they were good at communicating the information or not. And the school or the university takes cognizance of all the feedback that is received. And you may find that if a group of lecturers who deliver a module are consistently being ranked low by the students, maybe they're struggling to adequately communicate the content, they will be replaced. So it's a two-way thing. Now, I found that in different places, there were different attitudes to taking feedback. So in the Western world, it was generally easy, but I had the privilege to work for some time in Russia, and then every year we did the same thing because I was working for a Western company, and then we're operating in Russia, and then the same practices were brought in. The workers will assess the leaders, and then we will analyze together as a leadership team the feedback that we received. And we had an overall manager at the time who was very, very against feedback. We who were in his leadership team also assessed him. So when we sit in a meeting and he sees feedback that is not positive, he will be shouting, who gave this kind of feedback? I'm not like this, I'm not like that. He never really kind of internalized and thought about how to make the most of the feedback that was given. Now, one of the benefits of authentic leadership is this ability to create that. Yeah. If you remember your elementary mathematics, you have integer numbers or you have floating point numbers, right? Now, floating point numbers contain fractions or decimals, so they're not whole numbers. There are parts of them that are sort of divided. But an integer is whole, is undivided. So it is from the same root word. It means being whole and undivided, which suggests or implies that that person doesn't have aspects that are not true to the being, aspects that differ in values, in behavior from what they are supposed to be. So it is the opposite of hypocrisy. Integrity means a consistency of action, of values, of methods, of measures, of principles and expectations and outcomes. What do we mean by consistency? The person that has integrity behaves according to their core values. So it says, I'm a business leader. This is what my business stands for. In my business, while I strive to make profit, I will not defraud anybody. I will not cheat anybody. I will leave a smile on the face of everybody that does business with me. He does that even when a difficult customer comes. He does that even maybe when business is not going so well. So that's consistency. Integrity means honesty and truthfulness. We talked about honesty earlier on, about telling the truth, being truthful in words and action, being honest with oneself about one's own thoughts and feelings. There are people who, to make a good, quick business deal, they will tell lies, they will exaggerate their capabilities. They'll tell you, I can do this, I can do that, when they cannot do it. They will even lie about their experiences. They say, oh, I've done this before, I've done that before. And yet they've never done it before. And when you give them that business, whether it is the delivery of some goods or services, they'll mess it up. And once that has happened, you will never patronize them again. So integrity is about consistency. It's about honesty and truthfulness. It's about moral and ethical principles. We talk about having that strong moral compass and ethical principles, whether it's fairness or justice or respect for others. When a business is strong with integrity, every customer that comes into that business is treated with respect. The customer is, you don't have a business where maybe if somebody comes in and he's driving a big car or he's wearing some expensive things, you treat him with a lot of respect. But somebody comes in who may not look so very wealthy, and then you just ignore them. Many of us know the lady Oprah Winfrey. She's one of the richest women in the world. She's a black woman. She's a US citizen. And one time she was visiting, I think it was Italy. And she, if you know Italy, they have a lot of these designer things. And some of the biggest names in design, if you just look at those names, they are Italian names, Gucci and so on. So she entered one of these designer shops where they sell things for maybe handbags for thousands of dollars. And then this shopkeeper, who was maybe a bit racist in their behavior, was looking at her and then thinking, this black woman, can she, is she out of, maybe she mistakenly entered this shop. She can't really afford anything in this shop because she wasn't dressed in any extravagant way. She just was casual. I began to tell her when she asked about the price of some of the items, said, do you really want to know the price? Can you really afford it? And so on. She didn't say anything, then she walked out of the place. And then some journalists picked it up and then it was published. The global leadership of that company had to apologize to Oprah Winfrey. And I like what I read in one of the articles about the encounter, saying what the shopkeeper did not know was Oprah Winfrey had enough money to buy their entire business all over the world. Because she's a multiple billionaire. She's worth several billions of dollars. But she was treated that way because there's an attitudinal problem. No respect for people is based on how they see them, and then they didn't see her as having this sort of paraphernalia around her, and then they treated her like nonsense. And yet, if they had treated her very well that day, she would have probably they would have made some very good sales from her. But you can imagine the damage. Not only did she not buy things from them that day, it damaged their brand globally. And I'm sure that Oprah will probably never buy anything from that business again. So how does integrity relate to business growth? Now, you run a business, and when we talk about scaling, it's basically talking about making business to grow out is the role of integrity in business scaling. So how does integrity help us to make our businesses to grow, to be bigger? You grow your business either by making more sales, selling products, or you could be delivering services. So not all businesses involves selling products. A lot of businesses include delivery of one form of service or the other. We heard about logistics service from the last speaker. A logistics company delivers your products from one location to another. They themselves are not manufacturing something or buying something and coming to sell to you. So that's a service organization. The person who installs your DSTV or internet in your house is a service provider compared to somebody who has a shop selling shoes or clothes or cars or whatever. So you make more, your business grows by making more revenue, selling more products or services, or by having more investment so you can have more partners. Maybe you're buying goods initially in truckloads, and then you can graduate to buying a container load. And the more you buy, the better you are able to negotiate lower prices and increase your margin. So you can grow your business by having more investment, by having more customers buy from you, or by having staff who are more committed and work extra hard to make the business grow, or by having less losses from theft, from damage. I once was talking to one of our brothers, and he had a company that was making plastic pipes. We were at that time discussing about partnering. Again, the last talk we had about partnerships, strategic partnerships. So we got discussing, and I was saying, why don't you import your raw materials? And he told me at that time that he was typically buying container loads. And then most of these products, the pellets that he bought as the key raw material for the products, were being imported from abroad. And he found somebody who was importing entire shiploads of them. I have a business that does solar energy, and just last week I was discussing with a partner, a Chinese partner. He was telling me, oh, please, for the next several months, don't buy panels because somebody is buying so much. And then he explained that when Trump came in the US, and then he started with all the tariff things against China. China had the largest tariff of all the countries that were tariffed. And there were goods that were already slated for the US market from China, solar panels. And when the tariffs came in, the sellers realized that it would be too expensive if they ship it to the US. Nobody will buy it. So they were looking for alternative markets. And somebody from Nigeria who has a lot of money saw the opportunity, and he went and he bought 200 containers. Now, the kind of prices he was able to negotiate was such that when he brings his goods in, it's going to depress the market for several months. Now, if you go to buy one or two containers, you cannot compete with him. So these Chinese partners were telling me, don't put money into this for the next few months. Let this guy come, deliver his goods, clear, finish selling them, and then you see where things are, and then you can invest. So I'm just trying to use that to illustrate growth. Now, from what we said about integrity, you can already start to see how it will help your business to grow, how it will help you to scale up. If your workers are happier because they're treated with dignity and with respect and they work extra hard, you will make more sales. The customers that come in will feel more valued. They will come back again to buy. If you have integrity and you need more to grow your capital, people who have invested in you previously will be happy to scale up with you, give you more money to run the business because you have demonstrated trust, you've demonstrated integrity. You've not been telling stories about the money that they gave to you and you misappropriated, and then give them back their money, let them execute their exit strategy, and they are unable to because it's one story after another. So integrity fosters trust, it enhances reputation, it creates a positive work environment, all of which contribute to business growth. It helps to attract and to retain customers. No customer likes to be cheated. Every one of us listening to me would have had some experience in the past where you went to buy something and they told lies to you, they cheated you, they made you pay more. They swore to you that they were selling a rock bottom price only for you to find it cheaper with another person. Tell me how you feel about that. Probably very unhappy. And you tell your friends, don't ever buy from that shop again. They're liars, they're cheats. And in fact, if you had the opportunity, you plot a revenge against them. So when a business is strong with integrity, it will attract and retain customers. When there is no integrity, customers will walk away. So it retains customers, it retains employees, it retains investors. It makes it easier to communicate with stakeholders. So that is communities that I spoke about before, other stakeholders, and then suppliers. Your customers, your employees, and your investors are also stakeholders, including yourself. But these are additional stakeholders. They will believe in the business's values and commitment. Integrity enhances reputation. A business that is known for its integrity will develop a positive reputation, which is crucial for attracting new customers and investors. A good reputation will differentiate a business from its competitors. Often the people that invest, that partner with others, they have choices where they invest. And if you are an investor and you have 5 companies that are seeking investment, and you have the one that has that is strong with integrity, and the one that is strong without integrity, where would you invest your money? I'm sure you will invest your money in the one that is strong with integrity, because there is better chance that you will get your money back. It creates a positive work environment, which also helps business growth. I talked about employees feeling valued and respected, which when an employee feels valued and respected, maybe closing time is 5 o'clock, and then a customer comes at 5 minutes to 5, and it will take 30 minutes to attend to that customer. If the employee is not engaged, you just tell the customer, we're closing, Oga, you come back tomorrow. He doesn't want to make that sale. He has no stake in the business. He's not committed to the business. But the engaged employee will say, okay, it's another 30 minutes, even though I'll get home late. Let me take my time and attend to this customer. You may not be paying him a higher salary, but the way you treat him makes him go out of his way to put in that extra effort. When ethical practice, when a business prioritizes integrity, it sets the standard for ethical behavior that goes through all the levels of the organization. I forgot to mention one of the ways a business grows is also by minimizing losses. If you are constantly losing, either through theft or damage, you cannot grow as fast as you should. And having a culture of ethical practices reduces thefts and losses. Attracting talent. Employees are more likely to join and stay with a company that values integrity. And let me give you examples from the Bible. Abraham was a wealthy man who had a lot of servants, so much so that at some point, Abraham could go to war against a number of kings who had come to attack Sodom and Gomorrah. He had enough servants to fight them and win that battle. But from what we read of Abraham, we know he was a just man who treated his workers well. And because of that, he was a wealthy man. We find another man who was even related. His name is Laban. Laban was the one that Jacob worked for. Laban was a Wayo man. We read from the account of Jacob that he was constantly changing his salary. He would promise him a particular salary, promise him a particular wage, and then when he sees that things are moving to benefit Jacob, he will change the terms and conditions. Now, if you were somebody looking for a job and you have a choice of working for Abraham or working for Laban, I'm sure you prefer to work for Abraham. Or another man in the Bible, the husband of Abigail, Nabal, who was so stupid in the way he dealt with his workers and dealt with his stakeholders, because David was his stakeholder at that time, which he did not recognize, that it nearly cost him his life and his entire family. So would you rather work for an Abraham or work for a Nabal? So you find out that when the company is run with integrity, they would attract better workers. They will attract people also who have strong ethics and uh, better quality workers overall. How do we act with integrity in our businesses? I realize time is running out. First, you must define your moral principles. Now, people define their moral principles in various ways, but the greatest set of moral principles I can think about are the ones that are based on the Bible. So, as a Christian, you should already possess some very high standard moral principles that you can live by. The principles of being respectful to everybody, of being just and fair, of being honest. These are things that are expected of leaders, authentic leaders who may not even be Christians. A lot of these materials, I didn't put the acknowledgement here. I realized afterwards. But some of this you find in Wikipedia, you find in a number of websites online. These are not written by Christians. They are written by secular people. They are expecting these qualities from people who are not Christians. But I look at the qualities and I know that it is easier for Christians to have these qualities than people who do not know God. So define your moral principles. And if your principles are based on the Bible, you are already way, way there. And then you just add to it things that are specific to your business. Look back with honesty. You learn from the past. And in learning from the past, you are honest with yourself. You don't give excuses. You evaluate yourself. The way I've run over the last 1 year, the way I've run this business, I've already demonstrated integrity. There have been times I took advantage of other people. And when you recognize that, you learn from it, and then you make a decision going forward not to repeat those mistakes. You make a non-judgmental inventory of your own integrity or lack of integrity in business, and then make a personal action plan based on that to improve. We talked about treating everybody the same. Don't give big customers the red carpet treatment. Why scorning those customers with smaller wallets? I remember not too long ago, I went to a shop in VI to buy an air conditioner. And this air conditioner is quite an expensive one. It cost maybe just over ₦1 million. We needed it for a space that we're using to demo a product. So I walked into this showroom and I was just casually dressed, and there was these sales ladies. They looked at me and I'm not a Yahoo boy. I don't look like one of them. A lot of Yahoo boys come to patronize some of these places. So they didn't want to pay attention. I had to call one of them to say, this is what I'm looking for. And they reluctantly dragged their feet and then showed it to me. Okay. I said, I want to buy it. And then I went and paid for it. And then I came back to arrange for them to come to deliver it in my house. And then they were saying, after that, they were saying, Oga, find us something. I just looked at them and I walked out of the place. I didn't give any of them a dime because I just remember how they treated me at the beginning. I was even tempted to walk out of that place, but unfortunately, they are the manufacturer, and I didn't think I was going to get it less anywhere else. So I had to overlook that and also recognize that they were just employees, maybe not well trained, misbehaving. So treat everyone, I cannot emphasize it enough, treat everyone who comes to your business with respect and dignity. Don't just treat them based on what you think they are, because they might surprise you. In fact, I know some people who have money, and when they're going to buy, because they don't want to be overcharged, they deliberately dress down so that they can bargain and get a better price. The word honesty. In your organization, you have workers that demonstrate honesty and integrity. Publicly reward them. By publicly rewarding them, you send the message that this is the kind of behavior you want in that organization. Don't discourage bad news. Allow people in the organization to express their mind. It's all part of running the business with integrity. Don't be afraid to admit when you make mistakes, you miss targets. Explain them clearly and honestly. Don't try to put the blame on on another person, whereas you are the one that made the decision. Find the right balance. Behaving with integrity requires you to be honest, but it requires wisdom. It doesn't mean that every private thought and opinion must be brought out into the open. There are times when bringing out everything into the open will cause more damage than good, especially when it will hurt other people. In businesses, you have the habit or the practice of evaluating people's performance. And like I told you, I used to do that in my former multinational I worked for. And one of the things I learned was at the end of the year, when you are talking to somebody, might be a 50-something-year-old man, he's married, he has a family, he has his own house and everything. You don't talk to him like you're talking to a child. And typically, the way we'll approach it is recognize what he has done well and commend him for that, and then help him identify areas of improvement because nobody is perfect. Everybody can improve. But there's a way you bring somebody into a room and then you just talk down on them. Oh, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. And they feel so demoralized. They feel insulted. And then they become defensive and they are not able to use the feedback that you're giving them. And my final slide, because I'm out of time, crookedness is not smartness. There are many people, especially in our country, Nigeria, who believe that when you are able to deceive people and you are able to defraud them or deceive them, that you are smart. But that's just being crooked. That's not smartness. They'll say, oh, I get sense. It's not that you get sense. You are ruining your business without realizing it. You can, if you are going to dupe somebody or deceive somebody and take their money, you probably only succeed in doing it once or twice. Eventually, they will know and they will no longer patronize you. I've said it, remember, authenticity and integrity are made possible, enhanced by Christian values. Everyone in this conference listening to me is a Christian. You've had an encounter with Christ. You should not really struggle to have authenticity and integrity because the Spirit of God in you should make it easier. Remember that the best staff would prefer to work for an authentically led business because of the qualities that are found in those businesses. I said no customer likes to be cheated or duped. Think about your personal experiences where you've experienced such things in the past. And customers will always choose an authentically led business over others. Remember, whatever service or good you are selling, the customer has an alternative unless you have grown to the point of becoming a monopoly. So if you are a monopoly in your market, then people may not have a choice other than to buy from you. So if you are a Dangote with petroleum in Nigeria or sugar or cement, people may not have a choice, but still they will take note of how you treat them and whether you're fair and ethical in your dealings with them. And remember, even if you're a monopoly today, you may not be a monopoly forever. Government policy can change. There are many countries of the world where monopolies are routinely broken up. And it may happen, even though you are in Africa, that your monopolistic position will be broken up by government action. And then people will have alternatives. And then if you've treated them with disdain, with lack of integrity over the years, the moment they have the opportunity to have an alternative, they will abandon you. So I hope that this has been of help to somebody today. And I pray that God will lift every one of you to higher levels and grant you open doors. The theme of this conference is access, that all the access that you need, access to all the right connections, access to the right funding and financing, access to the right markets, access to the right resources, that the Lord will make them all available to you in Jesus' name. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen.